right. Welcome, everyone. Let's dive in. Start sitting. Keep it simple. There's that conscious exhale that may feel like gratitude, it may feel like ground, and a soft, deep, profound yes to the responsibility and the gift of being able to practice in these ways. And enjoy that feeling you may actually perceive in the core, in the deep belly, in the deep body. And the inhalation that is received more than it is taken. And the difference sometimes, to me personally, it feels like patience. It feels like trust. To allow the breath to come in requires a certain surrender, a certain getting out of the way. And we often can reflect in how many of us, all of us really, greatly generalizing, will hold some degree of a perpetual edge. It's I jokingly call it a perpetual low-grade freakout. But even before COVID, there's this complex edge, and this is much of what we navigate. And we recognize through our movement that it starts to get into our systems in negative ways. And so with deep love and compassion for self, we begin to turn our awareness to these patterns. And to simplify it greatly, it's just a practice of recognition, of acknowledgement that it's there. It's there in the heart and the chest and the diaphragm, the pelvic floor, the feet. It can show up anywhere. And not to slip into fear, but to just go back to the breath. Come back to the great pulsation of the breath of life. And give it just a little bit more time and space. And see if you can allow for the breath to touch more of you. The inhalation, finding those dusty places, the deep shoulder, the space behind the lungs, the spine itself. Those places where we don't even consider breath can touch a lot of the time. And so breathing, this is why much of the guidance is built on returning our volume and our space to the most crucial places, the pelvis, the kidneys, the adrenals, the heart, etc. But it can be anywhere. And the exhalation is more inclusive, it's more inviting to let go of more of the body. So the exhalation that empties all of your skin, all of your internal organs, the exhalation that hollows the bone in the most sweet way. The breath that wakes us up and eases that edge at the same time. Switch the way that you're sitting. Change the way that you're sitting. Do something different geometrically. And with a few exhalations, drop your sense of gravity awareness, of gravity center, down out of the head, where it certainly doesn't belong, down through the chest, down through the diaphragm, under the heart, down into the belly, all the way down, close to the floor, close to the ground. And see if you can feel the natural invitation to reside in this deep space along your midline, like a bright pearl on the midline somewhere down deep. This would correspond in other practices to the lower dantian or the hara. And there's a communication between the cranium, the mind and the cranium, and the mind and the gut, which is so rejuvenative if we can find it. And this is also why we move our pelvis so much in this practice. So go ahead and begin to allow the pelvis to rock backwards and forwards. Start rolling the pelvis back, letting the spine round, dropping the chin, letting the shoulders round, but consciously hold the shape of it with some strength. And then hooking your sitting bones into the ground, pulling the ground back, let the pelvis sit up and lean as far forward as it can. And there's a little bit of a back bend at this point as the translation of that pelvic movement moves up through the spine. You look up, open the chest, pull the shoulders close, kidneys back, opening the throat, the front of the throat, and then let it continue. So let the pelvis fall back first while the eyes are still up, and dropping the chin at the very last, and continue on your own. And I would remind you to try to move from the pelvis. The pelvis moves first. And you find these waves of movement through the spine. That are moving bottom to top. Go ahead and change again the way that you're sitting, but continue the work. Pelvis rolling back, and the pelvis rolling forward. So we set up this primal rhythm, this primal elemental pulsation that moves so much energy when it's conscious, when it's slow, when it's very strong. Also allowing ourselves to orient to the ground in a different way, in a more ancient, wise knowing. You can start to involve your arms as you pull and push. Be very strong through the legs, through the buttocks, through the belly, through the whole lower half of the body. But if you can, move as if you're moving in water. You can strengthen the whole body in this movement. Now, as you continue for just another minute, we're going to let the head sort of look around. You don't have to look up or down. That was just a starting point, but you can start to turn the head independently of the rest of this core articulation. And really check in with your spine, everyone. You want the spine to be as awake as possible, and there's a lot of movement going on. There's a lot to pay attention to. There's a lot to feel. There's a lot to track. Not to control, but to just witness, to bear witness. This is the medicine. So let's come lying down on our backs. And You can stretch your legs out long once you're on your back. That was it, everyone. Thanks for coming. Great class. So see what you can feel when you lay down. Reciprocal to what you just did for yourself, stirring the core in such conscious ways. Lay your hands on the hips or on the belly and see if you can, in a very small way, allow the same movement to continue while you lay down. So you might turn the toes towards the ceiling if it helps, bring the legs active, and start by sort of rolling the sacrum into the ground, the sits bones towards the ceiling, like basically a tuck. And then the opposite of that, pointing the sits bones forward and down, creating a little bit of a back bend in the low spine, strong belly. Go back and forth. So movement is not going to be as big, but it's definitely, not geometrically, but it's big energetically. Being able to lay down the key of supine and allowing the pelvis to really move. Articulating anterior, posterior, relational power. And notice how the belly tries to help. What's really wanting to happen is the belly needs to follow the pelvis, translate what's coming up through from the core, up to the heart, lung, up to the upper body. The legs are actively participating below. Okay, now bend your knees, walk your feet in. Lift your hips just off the ground, just an inch or two. Lay soft fingertips on the front of the hips and see if, with the hips hovering in a quasi-bridge, just kind of the pelvis hovering about 6 inches off the ground, can you continue to tip the pelvis forward and back? So this is a little tricky. Now there's more room to move here off the floor. But it can be difficult to find a bit of a back bend when you're lifting your hips off the ground. Keep the knees pretty close together, the feet also pretty close together. So you're pointing the sits bones down and then up while the pelvis hovers. Point the sits bones forward and down, you get a back bend. And point the sits bones forward and up, and you flex the low back a little bit. Breathe. Try to relate the whole body. Grab on with your toes. So we're sending these sort of waves up from the pelvis. Last 10 seconds, 15 seconds. If this is challenging, this is a good thing. Don't judge it. Don't be hard on yourself. It's just something that we're playing around with to try to feel again in these ways. Okay, let the pelvis come back down and re-extend the legs. Now see if you can feel any of that movement inviting right now, first of all, an initial release behind the knees. Maybe a flush through the pelvic floor, pelvic diaphragm. Sacral space, which you can also feel in the back of the head, back of the neck. The heart, although slightly elevated in its heart rate, in the rate of the cardiopulmonary rhythm, the heart is elevated energetically, but more grounded, more sitting a little deeper in the chest. Beautiful. Bend the knees, walk the feet in. Let's do an adaptation of a yoga pose the way that I used to teach it. So we're going to walk the feet in, cross your right knee over your left knee. Stacking the knees, and make sure the knees are stacked, that it's not ankle over knee. Knees are crossed. You're going to roll onto your left side. Make a pillow with your left arm. And so the right knee should be down, the left knee tucked in behind the right, if you can feel which is which. For now, just lay the right hand on the floor in front of you, in the front of the chest, and extend the left leg, keeping the knees tied together until you can see your left foot way out in front of the knees. Good. Now, go ahead and lift the left low ribs off the ground, cutting the right hip away from the right jaw. Reach the right arm straight up, and slowly turn the head to look at the right hand. So most of the first initial part of the turn is pretty soft. You end up, for most of you, you're going to end up resting the back of the head in the palm.
So start to push through the left heel out to your left as you turn your head and look past the arm. Also, try not to sag the right shoulder. Reach up away from the ground pretty much as far as you can with the right fingertips. Turning your head to look to the right. Now swing the right arm over to the right, maybe 50, 60 degrees. Now pause. Turn the lower half of the body from the diaphragm to the feet to the left as powerfully as you can. You're turning the belly to the left. Take the left kidney off the floor and bring it more to your right behind you where your right hand is pointing. Now keep all of that. Turn on every fiber around every bone and turn the head slowly. Try to find the right low ribs, the ones facing the ceiling, and cut them to your left. It's really this quality of reaching the right arm, but letting the spine be the focus in the revolution of the vertebrae. Turn the sacrum to the left, the lower lumbar vertebrae to the left. Turn the buttocks all the way on without tucking the pelvis. But stay really strong, everyone. One more breath in. And then roll onto your left side where you started. Put the hand down in front of the heart. Then slide the left leg off of the right leg and then roll onto your back. Press the legs out long. And just enjoy all that you can feel. Try to feel the connection between the release you might feel behind the right ear, all the way down to the inner right arch of the right foot. The right kidney cooling off and descending towards the ground as you lay on your back. Beautiful. Well, let's do the other side. So if you walk your feet back in, cross your left knee over your right knee, and roll onto your right side. Make a pillow with your right arm. So if you look out in front of your knees and you keep your knees tied together, you extend your right leg and push through the heel. Turn the toes a little towards the floor. Nice. And then go ahead and rolling the left arm up into the sky. Roll the head on the right hand and look up softly. Now the neck, depending on your personal history and trauma and tension in the neck and shoulders, may not look all the way up. That's fine. Just go right up to the edge where it's getting a little bit, you're getting close to your limitation. And we're going to pause there. Now reach the left hand further away from the ground, further away from the floor. Now turn the head and look beyond the look behind to the left of your left shoulder without reaching the arm yet. Okay, now we've got to have a super strong counter rotation. So from diaphragm to feet, turn to the right. Pick up the right kidney off the floor. And it's going to lengthen the skyward belly, side belly. Look a little further, and then go ahead and reach the left arm 40, 50, 60 degrees to the left. The floor is not your objective. Okay, so what we want to do is, let's do it a little differently. Close your eyes and make a soft fist with your left hand. And you're holding a giant rubber band, the loop in your left hand. The other end of that rubber band is tied around your left knee. And you're going to stretch your left knee to your right and your left hand to your left, moving these 2 points away from each other. Left knee to the right and down into the ground. Left palm and hand fist to the left. Let the head follow. Should feel fantastic strength through the spiral belly. Turn the belly to the right. Now pull the right buttocks back to your left if you can. Turning the head. You should feel a soft burn from behind the left ear all the way down under the right shoulder blade, onto the right hip. Beautiful. Now stay strong. As you slowly release, roll back onto your right side. Put the left hand down in front of the chest. Slide the right leg off of the left and release onto your back. Consciously transitioning onto your back. So you just did more for your immune system, opening the lungs and the heart in such ways. especially when there's a curious virus running around the planet right now that's got everybody's attention. So you want the warmth in the lungs. You want the clarity and space in the lungs. Same thing in the heart. You want the stimulation in the core and the stimulation of the intuitive gut, the gut-brain axis deeply revived, and just in that one conscious squeeze. Take a moment before we get up and move to release any residual tension behind the ears, all the way across the back of the base of the skull, base of the occiput. Cooling off the eyes. And then what we're going to do is bend the knees, walk the feet in, and then bring your knees toward your chest. And if you're on a bare floor, be careful with this. We're going to grab a hold of the feet, and it doesn't matter what it looks like. You're going to bend your knees, and you start to pull against the feet using your arms, your shoulders, your back, and pushing the feet into the hands as you kind of play around, just in this key of supine. And what's so valuable is to pull and push on the feet powerfully. And the pull and push are equal to each other, which gives us a sense of inner equilibrium. Moving around, lifting the head and chest off the floor, see what you can do. Play with rotation of the hips, variations in how you articulate the ankles and the feet, the knees and the hips. But just keep pulling and pushing internally. I don't know how I ended up in this position, but it feels really, really great. I've caught my left ankle with my left hand, flexing the left knee. I'm pulling on the arch and cupping my right hand over the right heel, pulling my right knee down into the floor, sort of on the right side, if you want to try it. Oh, boy. Keep moving, keep moving. Now try catching just one foot with two hands and let the other leg go free. So you want to push and pull. Also pretend that the sky is heavy on your feet, like a heavy blanket, and you're pushing that fabric around with your feet. Great, everyone. And go ahead and make your way up to a seat. Take your time. All right. Good morning. Okay, if your left knee is good with it, and you can add a blanket under your sits bones. Take your left leg into, it's folded outside the left hip like Virasana. Also rest your right foot up against your left knee. I'm going to stay here for a moment. So knees are seeing a lot of energy these days with everything that we've been holding. The functional role of the knees to articulate change in direction, transition from standing to the ground, and so much more. Also mirrors the second chakra, which is the right to feel. So there's a lot of need to articulate change in direction, articulate how are we feeling. It's going to project into the knees. Hollow the back of the left knee as much as you can with your exhale. So it's like emptying the calf and the underlying soleus. It's like emptying the hamstrings more consciously by exhaling down the back of the left leg. And what we're going to do here is pull the left side belly back a little bit, which is going to turn, when you pull your left kidney back, it's going to turn your upper body to the left slightly towards the left knee. You also want to root your left thigh back into the left hip and your left shoulder back into the back more, and then turn your head and look over your right shoulder. So you have this powerful counter rotation, pulling back through pretty much the whole left side of the body, but the head is turning to the right. Here we are in another twist. Beautiful. Yeah, keep sinking the left hip back, pull the left knee back and push the right hip forward, and then turn your head a little more. Good.
Now, kind of leave your gaze here and put your right hand down on the floor just outside the right hip. Lean onto the right hip and untie your left leg and swing it out to your right so it laces over your right knee. Yeah. And just pause here for a moment just to release the twist from the neck. Then, set your left hand down, or fingertips just outside your left hip. Set your right leg, your inside leg, so the knee is up and the foot is down. Then what we're going to do is turn to our left, come into a squat, wrapping the left leg around the right ankle. So you're on the ball of your left foot. And then just go ahead and put the left foot in front of you, and you're in a squat with the left foot leading. Asymmetrical squat. So let's do that whole thing again so we're kind of familiar with the strangeness of the transition. And so we'll sit in the Virasukhasana with the left leg folded on your left side, right from the top, everyone. The right foot right up against the left knee. So these are ways of, we see it as learning, but it's really realizing that there's so many ways to play, okay? So we're gonna pull the left side body back, left hip, kidney, shoulder. Look to your right with your head, and that's an active turn of the head. Look over the right shoulder. Look behind you peripherally through the right eye. Yeah, and then set the right hand down, keep your gaze, swing the left leg over the right knee. Just for a moment, just to let yourself out. Then turning to your left, we're gonna set the right leg. You're gonna pivot on the ball of the left foot as you turn to your left. Let your left leg just wrap around your right ankle. And set your left foot in front of you into an asymmetrical squat, your left foot in front. Then we're going to use the hands, okay? Take care of your knees. You're going to slide the right leg out in front of you into a longer squat. So much more space between the feet. And now from here, use your hands and start to lower the left heel to the ground. Good. And then from here, simply lay the left knee out to the side and wrap your right leg in beside you, starting ending up on the other side at the beginning. So take a moment, try to get on top of the right foot as much as you can. Add blankets, even a block under the sits bones to do this part. Start to pull the right hip, knee, kidney back, the right shoulder back, initially turning a little bit to the right, but then turn just the head. It's what it feels like. Turn just the head to the left. So it's an active spiral, very strong. Counter rotate below the diaphragm, turn to the right. Turn the spine above the diaphragm to the left. And then just leave the gaze where it is. Set your left hand down outside the left hip and swing the right leg out over the left leg. Untangle. Then look to your right. Set the right hand down. You're going to set your inside leg, your left leg, turn to your right, pivoting on the ball of the foot into this funny squat where you're on the ball of the left foot and your right leg wrapped around your left. Then go ahead and lift up into the squat, right foot in front. Then slide the left leg out in front, walking forward into a longer squat. Asymmetrical still. Use your hands if you need to. Lower the right heel down, having a seat. Drop the right knee out to the right, and then fold the left leg by your side. Sometimes I'm at home and I'm practicing and this stuff is just happening and I'm not thinking about it. And then I write it down for you and it makes no sense. And then I try to remember the movement and just articulate the translation as best I can. So bear with me. Well, that's what I'm starting to do. I'm creating content where I'm shooting these phrases and I'm going to be putting them up online. But yeah, I know it would be easy to do that. What did I actually do? Okay, everyone. So here we go. So begin with the twist. So we're gonna pull the left knee back. The left hip sinks back. This pull is really sweet. Pull the left kidney back, the left shoulder, but look to your right. Turn the head to the right. In fact, this time reach the right arm around, palm up, like you're holding a bowl of rice in your right palm or a cup of tea, and you're going to turn your head to look at it. Lay your left hand on the left low front ribs and pull that left kidney back, stabilizing the sacrum, turn the buttocks on. Good, now keep your gaze, put your right hand down, and just swing the left leg out over the right shin. Yeah, then take your left hand just behind you, and set your right leg inside. And you gotta be on the ball of the foot for this. Turn to your left, 180. You end up in a squat, perched on the ball of the right foot with your left leg wrapped around the right ankle. And set the left foot in front into a squat. Stay here for a moment. And then you're gonna duck walk. Use your hands. Take your right leg out in front of you into a long squat. Right leg leading. Then we're gonna drop back on the left heel, slowly dropping the left heel down. Drop the left knee out to the left, and then fold your right leg by your side. So this kind of stuff can take months, years. You really have to, this is why we're doing it. It's all therapeutic for the ankle, foot, ankle, knee, hip. So from here, pull the right knee back. This is internal. Pull the right kidney back, right shoulder back. Look to your left. Swing the left arm around where you can see it. Lay the right hand on the low front right ribs. Pull that right kidney back and look more deeply with the head and neck. So most of the twist happens in the thoracic and the cervical spine. Good, beautiful. And then set the left hand down. And just unwind your right leg and lace it over the left ankle. Yeah, great. Cool. Now set your right hand down. Turn the hand around. The hand turns around because you're going to turn to your right. The left leg sets. You're going to turn to your right, 180. You're in a squat. The right leg wrapped around the left. And then just lift the right foot up to a squat. The feet are relatively close. And then slide, however you navigate this, slide your left leg out in front, putting most of the weight on the right leg, and begin to drop to the right heel. Good. Set the right foot, or the right knee out to the right, and fold your left leg on your left side. Good. Okay. So establishing the counter rotation, it's a pre-engagement. Pull the left side of the body back. Turn your head to the right. Reach the right arm. Touch the left front ribs. Make sure you're strong. Your belly should turn to the left. And then release the left leg out over the right ankle. Turn to your left. Pivot on the ball of the right foot. Do a squat. You're going to end up with your left foot in front. Slide the right leg out in a long squat. Drop to the left heel, maybe now without the hands. Okay? Lay the left knee out to the left and wrap your right leg in by your side. So you can start to do these things, some of you, without the hands. All right? That's not a challenge, it's just an invitation. Pull the right knee back, right kidney back, buttocks on. You're not tucking your pelvis. Turn your head to your left. Reach the left arm. Turn actively for the neck. You're not cranking on it, but it is enthusiastic. Soften the eyes. And then without putting the left hand down maybe, swing the right leg out over the left ankle. Okay. Now, setting the left leg, you're going to need your right hand for this. Turn to your right, pivot on the ball of the left foot, lacing the right leg around. Now, you might be hands-free as you pop your right foot out in front of you to an asymmetrical squat. Then, duck walk, take the left leg forward in a long squat. See if you can balance and start to drop back, lowering the right heel down, maybe without the hands. Lower the right knee out to the right, fold the left leg on your left side. Let's do this just a few more times, okay? So, we pull the left hip, left kidney, left shoulder. We turn the head to the right. Reach the right arm. Good. And then just releasing the left leg out over the right ankle. Turn to your left. Pivot on the ball of the right foot, 180 left. You're in a squat, left leg in front. Beautiful. Duck walk the right leg way out in front. Balance, arms forward, helps you drop your left heel. Have a seat. Left knee drops out to the left. Wrap the right leg. Last time. Pull the right knee, right hip, right kidney, shoulder, back. Look left. Reach the left arm. Release the right leg out, just laying the right hamstrings over the left ankle. Bring the left knee up. Turn to the right, 180. Spinning, you're going to be in a squat, the right foot leading. Slide the left leg way out in front, nice and long. Try to balance, arms forward as you drop your right heel. Have a seat, drop the right knee out, and wrap the left leg in by your side. Nice, everyone. Next. So actually just sit cross-legged, the left leg in front for a few moments. So bring that left leg in front. So much of this is mobility training. It's recalling the creativity and being okay up and down off the ground, changing directions. So let's come right up into the shape of folding. So from a squat, lift the hips, bending the knees, draping the spine, and go ahead and straight away start moving side to side. So put the fingertips or the knuckles down or the palms down and hang the head. And enjoy the initial release, the length of your back body. And let the exhalation invite a length and a release of that continuity, back chain. Now there's two great rivers, the parallel rivers that run from the inner corners of the eyes, up the forehead, over the scalp, down either side of the spine, all the way to the heels, and right out through the soles of each of the feet. When you are folding and you move side to side, you really help the sweet reorganization and the individuation of all of the layers, all of the whole neighborhood comes out to play. And so we want to push the hands down and lift the diaphragm away from the ground. Let the head look around. Let the eyes be as soft as possible. Now start to introduce your footwork where the feet begin to break loose. Heels pop up. The balls of the feet pop up. You start turning the hips and the knees and try to go slow enough, strong enough, everyone, to track the movement in the joints, especially the hips and the knees and the ankles. So you start to blur the lines between a fold and a crouch and a squat as you find your own alchemy. And you turn to one side, 90 degrees to one side, and you have a crouch for a moment. Just try to let the pelvis lead the way. There's a lot of variation to be had when you turn the legs in and out, especially independently of each other. Let them do different things. Yeah, working. You gotta self-resist like you're moving in water. But I really love this idea of moving the planet with your hands and your feet. That's a lot harder. It's a big planet. It's a big planet. Oh my gosh, your legs ought to be getting a little bit fatigued now in a conscious way. Oh. And then go ahead and have a seat, now with the right leg in front. Oh yeah. So sit a little higher by pulling the sits bones back. And then let the belly and diaphragm pull hollow back, stacking the lumbar spine straight up and down. And then the shoulders nice and wide, the chest open, the head resting up against a tree. Beautiful, everyone. We're going to come up to standing. Take your time. Conscious transitions. Take your time. I'm just going to plug my computer. Look down at your feet. Parallel. And unlock your knees. Unlock your knees. Unlock everything. So, take a few moments. Lay your hands on your belly. If they're not already, lay your hands on your hips. And just a tiniest movement side to side of the pelvis, just a little bit. And you want to straight away orient to moving the ground side to side with your feet. That's no easy task. And we're going to keep this rhythm going side to side for just a few moments before we get into another leg sequence. Let the hips go wider now, okay, to each side. Keep the head over the midline for balance, just like when you walk. And what we're going to do is take our hips way over to the right, bend the right knee, and float the left foot off the floor. And when you do that, push your left foot further to the left, reach your right arm up if you want to, and get into a side bend, really powerful through the belly. Try not to tuck the pelvis. Pull the sits bones back. Now, slowly stand up, look to your left, turn the left foot out 90 degrees in slow motion. And then transfer your weight. This is really slow. Step onto the left leg in balance and get into a little bit of a back bend. Let your right leg trail you off the floor. Look up. Bend the standing knee, hips forward. Good. Stay there for just a moment. And then slowly come back up and take that back leg and reach across the midline behind you. And we're going to balance on the right leg. The left knee will basically lace itself on top of the right knee, and you're going to hover your left foot off the ground. And then from here, transfer your weight onto your left foot, shifting forward, and slide your right foot back, uncrossing, and come down into a crouch, a long crouch. And move around. So we have variation not only within the shapes, but also in the sequence. How the shapes chain together, like any dance in life. Moving around in the crouch. And then what we're going to do is we're going to turn around to our right 180 degrees, dance your way around, pivoting 180. Lengthen the stance and set your right fingertips on the floor inside your right foot. Keep the back heel a little bit off the floor. The back heel trailing the left toes, right? Bending the right knee past the right tricep and lift the entire left side of the body like a yoga side ankle. But bend the right knee and work every place you feel a stretch. Good. Now put both hands down inside the right foot and step to plank. Keep the left hand down, turn to your right into a side plank. You'll end up with your right foot leading, hopefully, in a scissor stance. And then slide the left knee underneath you, folding the left leg, having a seat. Right leg out to your right. You're going to lean in over the right side bending, very conscious to not stretch the right hamstrings, but work them. Pull the right heel down into the ground. The left side belly working complementary to that. Now, come on up. You're going to put your left hand down behind you and swing your right foot all the way across the left thigh. Come up into a squat with the right foot leading. Yeah. Now, let the hands come off the floor, pre-engage and stand. And then simply turn a quarter turn to your left, right back to where you started, and you're standing. You're standing, keep standing. Neutral, feet parallel, right where we started. Hips moving side to side, go slow. Go slow, we'll do the sequence a few times. Okay, and so kick the hips over to the left, and more to the left, and more to the left, and take the right foot off the floor. And then push the right foot out to the side, a little bit further away from the left. Pull the sitting bones back, strong belly. Whatever shape you make, it's deep, balancing side bend. Then, as you turn your right foot out 90 degrees to the right and set the heel down, you make a slow transition into balancing on the right leg, quarter turn to your right. Let the left leg trail off the floor too. The back of the ball of the left leg not even touching. Hips forward, and then look up. See if you can back bend here. Pushing the left heel down into the air behind you. And then as you come up, still balancing, take the left leg behind you across the midline. Shift your weight onto the left leg, leaving the right knee laced on top of it. Let the right foot leave the floor. Slowly set the right foot down. Uncross the legs and slide the left leg way back into a crouch. Come on down, long crouch. And move, play. Slowly turn all the way around to your left, 180. And open the stance up like a warrior two stance. And set the left fingertips down inside the left foot and lift the entire right side of the body. Don't let the back heel touch, but reach the heel back all the same. Bend the left knee forward. Both hands down, plank. Keep the right hand down, look to your left. Side plank. Left foot should be in front. Slide the right leg underneath you, bending the knee, have a seat. Left leg out to the side. Lean in on the left side. Once again, strong where you feel a stretch. Moving. And then we're going to come up. And you're going to take that left foot. Turn to your right. Step the left foot all the way outside the right hip. Come up into a squat, the left foot leading. Stand. And then a conscious, slow quarter turn to your right, back to where you started. Nice, everyone. Let's do that a few times. So from here, we're going to move our hips to our right and take the left foot off the floor. Balance and side bend. And then a quarter turn to your left, turning the left foot out 90 degrees. Put the foot down. Shift your weight onto the left leg and push the right heel down and back behind you without touching the pelvis forward. Look up and make it a back bend. Coming back up, set your right leg behind you over to the left. As you load your weight onto the right leg, you can float your left foot off the floor. Transition your weight onto your left leg, slide your right leg back, come down into a crouch. So you ground all that balance straight away, moving around. Find your variations, your possibilities. And you're going to turn all the way around to your right, 180 degrees. Lengthen the stance. Set up those warrior two legs. Don't lock the left knee. This time, put the right palm on the floor inside the right foot. Lift the left hip. Bend the right knee and strengthen all of your body. Put the left hand down, step the right leg back, turn to your right, side plank, right foot leading. Fold the left leg underneath you, have a seat. Side bend over the right bent leg, which I hope feels really lovely. And then come back up, look to your left, step your right foot all the way across your left thigh, pivot up into a squat with your right foot leading, and then stand. Turn to the left a quarter turn to neutral, and pause. Can you feel it? Right? The quickening that is part of life every moment, right? There's wanting to come into being. Yeah, that's the meaning of the word existence. Shift your hips way off to your left and hover the right foot. Strong in your side bend. Move the hips further than anything else to the left. Lean your head to the right. And then turning your right foot out 90 degrees. Slow transition, very slow, onto the right leg. Balancing on the right leg. Trailing the left foot behind you and just off the floor. Let the hips come more forward by pulling the ground back with your right foot. And you can lean back and look up. Yes. Now slowly cross the back leg over the midline. Continue standing. Shift your weight onto the back leg, the left leg, and hover the right foot off the floor, the knees crossed. Slowly transition your weight back onto your right foot. Slide the left leg back. Drop into a crouch. Turning around to your left 180 degrees. Opening the stance up with warrior two legs. Bend the left knee. Left palm on the floor inside the left heel. Lift your entire right side away from the ground. Bring the left hip underneath you. Reach back through the right heel, forward through the left knee, and unlock the right knee. Good. Right hand down. Turn to your left. Left leg back. Side plank. You're on your right hand. Your left foot in front. Fold the right leg underneath you. Have a seat. Lean in over the left leg. Strong. Move around a little bit here by just taking the spine a little bit to the left of the left leg and a little bit inside the left leg. Good. Now we're going to come up, look to your right. Step the left foot all the way across the right thigh. Pivot into a squat with the left foot leading. Navigating your environment with proficiency and wisdom. Go ahead and stand. And a quarter turn to your right brings you out. Fantastic, everyone. Just pause, still standing. I have another little sequence for you. What?
I'm sure you do.
Look down at your feet. Feet relatively close. Relax the inner thighs back and knees are unbound. Grab on with your toes. Grab onto the ground with your feet. Pause. Just really rooting in. And of course the reciprocity and rooting, grounding is the levity at the top of the head and natural buoyancy through the core. The source engine, the core engine, translates creative energy in the deep belly, sends it down through the legs biomechanically and up through the rest of the body. But the energy in the midline is constantly flowing up. This is easily confused. So you're not, by standing more consciously and really engaging the feet, monitoring the knees, this is just a tree knowing that its roots are doing what they're supposed to do. But the core center is in the belly, where the translation begins. So from here, take another moment. You might want to look down at your feet again. Okay, and what we're gonna do is we're gonna drop the right foot just a little bit back. Just a little bit back in an asymmetrical stance, left foot leading. Now, same as we did sitting with the twist before in the Virasukasana, you're gonna pull your right hip and your right kidney and your right shoulder back a little bit, but look over your left shoulder. And so this active turn of the head, left foot leading, right side anchored and counter rotated. Look to your left. Now, from here, release the gaze, look to your right, drop your left foot, turn a quarter turn to your right, and drop down into a squat, right foot leading. Okay, let's come back up to standing and do that first part again, just so you get this transition. So the left foot leads, the right foot is back. I'm going to counter rotate and then turn my head to the left. So there's this familiarity. I'm looking over to my left side. What's going on in the world, right? Inside, outside. Then, without even looking, you just step your left foot a little to your left. Look to your right, and drop it right down into an asymmetrical squat. Right foot leading. Yeah. Now, what we're going to do here is set the hands. This is optional. Set the hands in front of you, fingertips. And you're going to lift the hips and fly your left leg straight back. This part is not optional. And then we're going to take the left leg as high as we can, like half moon, and stand up as you go. Okay? And then as you come up, you're going to swing your left leg just in front of you and across the midline. Okay? And then you're going to bend the knees and come down and fold. So we've got the left leg crossing the right leg. You can open the stance up a little bit if you'd like. Stay here for a moment and move around. See what's possible. And then what we're going to do is put the left hand down, turn to your right, turning the feet, dropping both hands behind you into a squat with the hands behind the feet. Okay? Then from here, you're going to slide your right leg out to the right. You're going to lift your hips up, turn over the top, turning 360 basically. You're going to get your left leg stepping across over the top into a lunge. Don't worry, you'll have another crack at this. And then from here, keep the lunge, bend the back knee, and stand up. Turn slowly around to your right, 180 degrees. Slowly transition your weight to your right leg and step forward, left foot next to right. Shift your weight onto your left leg. Take your right leg back and across the midline. Good. Then turning on the ball of that back foot to your right a quarter turn. And then step right out where you started. So let's go through this a few times and try it on the other side now. First of all, from standing, drop your left foot back a little bit. Okay. And from here, we're going to twist. So we're going to anchor down through the left leg, but try to keep your weight equally distributed on both feet. Pull the left hip back, left kidney, left shoulder back, counter rotate, and look with the head to the right. Unlock the knees and turn. Then look to your left, 90 degrees, right? And set up like a cat stance, left foot leading, and you drop right down into the squat. Great. Now from here, what we're going to do is balance on the left leg. Put your hands on the floor in front of you. And lift your hips and press your right leg straight back like half moon. You're going to lift the right leg, lift the right hip, lengthen the standing leg, and come up all the way to standing, lowering the right leg in front of you and across the midline. And we're going to fold down, legs crossed, right over left. Bending the knees is really great here. You can play around in this and really open the hips and the low back. Put the right hand down. You're going to turn to your right, drop into a squat. Both feet, both hands behind you. Now, with the left hand down, Extend your left leg out to your left with the toes turned left. That's the left leg. Goes way out. You get the outer blade of the left foot on the ground. Lift your hips. Then balance almost like through side plank. Step the right leg over the top. Right leg to left hand, and you've got a lunge or something. And then stand up. Turning around to the left 180 degrees. Slow transition to step your right foot next to your left foot. Nice, beautiful, nice and slow everyone. Now transfer the weight onto the right leg, take your left leg back and across the midline. Reversing with a cross. Pivot on the ball of the back foot, the left foot to your left 90 degrees. And then step to your 0 point at the beginning. No problem, right? Drop the right foot back a little. Asymmetrical stance. Root in through your right side. Turn your belly to the right a little, your pelvis to the right a little, and look to your left. Release the twist, look to your right. Set up like a right side cat stance, dropping down into your right side squat. Set the fingertips on the floor in front of you. Lean into it, lift the hips, fly the left leg back, roll the left hip up, open up like a half moon. That brings you up to standing. Swing the left leg in front of you, across the midline, and fold, crouching and crossing, which is going to release that left hip. Left leg is crossed in front. Now the transition, set your left hand down. Turn to your right as you squat. Bring your right hand down behind you. Slide your right leg way out to your right. Turn the toes to the right. Now, lift the hips. Try to get into like a side plank. Step the left leg over the top and next to the right hand into a lunge.
Oh, that's cool.
Right on. Move around in the lunge. And then we're going to stand up. Turn around to your right 180 degrees. In a slow, conscious transition, step left foot to right foot. Balance on your left leg. Slide your right leg back and across the midline quite far. Turn the back leg and the hips out 90 degrees. Facing the front, and then step to the beginning. Very nice. Take a moment, feel how alive the feet are, the legs in general. As roots are alive, the rest of you is awakening. Okay, drop your left foot back just a little bit. So just have fun with this. There's no right or wrong. These are just translations of movement. Okay, so we're going to root through the left side and look over our right shoulder. Rooting means sinking into both feet and pulling the left hip back and the left low ribs and kidney back, looking over your right shoulder. Now you can already feel how you're going to exit to your left in a moment in that cat stance to squat. So go ahead and release that. Set up your cat 90 degrees to your left. Drop down into your squat. Left foot is leading. So we set up for this sort of half moon inspiration. Fingertips forward. Fly the right leg straight back and up. Straightening up through the left leg, stand up. Bring the right leg down in front and over the midline. And fold with the cross. A beautiful release for the hips. Always. Also gives you a little bit more sense of space between the two hemispheres of the brain when you cross the midline, which is yummy. Set the right hand down. You're going to turn to your left into a squat. Left hand down behind you. Now, you're going to slide the left leg out to your left. Toes turn left. Lift the hips first. Try to get up into that side plank. Step over the top. The right foot next to the left hand in a lunge. Stand. Turn to your left, 180. Step the right foot to the left foot as consciously as possible. Step the left leg back and across the midline. Bigger step now. Turning the back leg and hips out to the left, pivoting. And then you can exit to where you began. Pause. So you're going to probably find the more you allow yourself to be the mover that you are, the hips tend to just keep moving. So you might be moving side to side. This moves energy, it stays in a certain rhythm. It's not that you can't be still, because what is stillness is your perception of inhabiting the midline, your reality of inhabiting mid-space. This is an energetic awareness that is still regardless of the movement. In fact, it's informed by the movement. All right, everyone, so make your way down to a seat. Sit comfortably with the left leg in front. Give yourself a few moments. Okay, so there's one more sequence I want to share with you. It's got a few similarities to what we've done, but it's a little quicker. See if we can find flow. There's one particular thing that you're going to have to be careful with your knees always. Remember to point the knees and the feet in the same direction in each leg. I'll talk about it when we get there. So we're sitting with the left leg in front, and we're going to set the left leg and lean to our right and get a nice push on the right side. So remember to use two hands if you need to, and to keep the right shoulder away from the floor, the right shoulder blade close to the thoracic spine, fully retracted. You can maybe touch the right temple to the ground. Use your free hand, don't push your shoulder if it's not prepared. And come back up. Now what we're going to do is turn to our left. Just put your left hand down, look left, and balance on the right leg, the left leg extended out in front of you. Now that left foot can be on the floor. Your left hip can also be on the floor. You can also be floating the hip and the foot. Then from here, we're going to lift the hips, slide the left leg back, and back up into that half moon space. Once again, we're going to go ahead and lengthen up through the right leg and stand all over again. Now drop the left leg behind you though, crossing the midline. Now from here, the feet are relatively close together. You should be touching the left knee and the back of the right knee and start to drop into, if you can, a crossing squat. Now, this is where you want to point the feet and the knees in the same directions. So you can use your hands, you can maybe not use the hands. Now, we're going to look to our left and slide the left hand a little bit back and to the left. Lift the hips enough to turn and unlock your squat, turning to your left and come into a squat with the left leg leading. And then just put your right hand down. Bring your right leg around in front and sit down. Right leg is in front. So you're going to have to let the back leg come out in front. Yeah, just like that. How's everybody doing? Yeah, it's a strange, wonderful world, isn't it? Okay, here we go. Set your right leg. You're going to lean to your left and push on the left side. Please enthusiastically pull the left shoulder away from the ground, strong belly. Come back up. Now, as you look to your right, set your right hand down. You're going to set your inside leg. Turn, extend the right leg, hover. or just turn to the right and the right leg is on the floor. We're gonna lift the hips, slide the right leg way back, bend the standing knee, lift the right leg like a half moon and stand up. Coming all the way up, balancing. Drop the right leg across the midline behind you. Good. Now carefully, feet a little closer, drop down towards the squat. You might surprise yourself. Yeah, nice. Great. And then slide your right hand back into your right. Lift the hips, turn out of that squat. Put the left hand down. Turn more, you end up in a right foot leading squat. And then keeping the left hand down, take the left leg out, lace it around the front and have a seat. Left leg in the lead. I know it's purely subjective, but I really enjoy this sequence. How these things emerge of their own accord, just like the dance of life. So, set your left leg, lean to your right, and push. However far. Yeah, come back up. Look to your left, set the left hand down. Inside leg turns and sets, left leg floats. Lift up, pass the left leg back into the sky and up, left side leading up to the sky, half moon. And then as you stand, drop your right leg behind you across the midline, relatively close, and drop right down to a crossed squat. Ooh, yeah. It's like a Gomukhasana upgrade. Okay, then from here, slide your left hand back into the left, turn to your left 270 into a left foot leading squat. Put your right hand down, slide your right leg out in front, and sit. Right leg leading. Good stuff, everyone. Let's do it. One more time on this side, and then one more time through the whole sequence. Lean to your left, set the right leg, push. Loving the planet, come on up. Turn to your right leg will be out in front of you. You're on your right hand in a squat, pistol squat. Lift the hips, slide the right leg back up into the sky, standing up through the half moon and dropping the sky leg behind you across the midline close. Dropping down carefully into the crossing squat. Oh, slide your right hand back and to the right. Turn to your right, all the way around basically. The right foot is leading in a squat. Left hand down, slide the left leg just in front and have a seat. Left leg is leading. Let's pass to the sequence one more time on both sides, but before that, find your breath, find your heart, and give your fabulous heart a lot of room. And the way to do that is to find your pelvis and just breathe within the pelvis and find your pelvic orientation. Then you'll find the core is so deeply supporting the heart and lung that there's much, much blossoming. Okay, here we go. Last time. So set your left leg, that's the one in front, lean to your right. Push. Back up. Good. Now turn to your left. You'll be squatting on the right leg. Left leg extends. Lift the hips. Slide the left leg back. And like half moon. As you lift your left side hip, lead with the left heel. In other words, the left heel is higher than the left toes. Come all the way up to standing. And drop the sky leg behind you across the midline. Carefully lower yourself down. In the crossing squat. Slide your left leg back, left hand back into the left, turn left. Basically, most of it full turn. Wait, what happened? I have to review. Yes, turn all the way around. You end up in a left foot leading squat. Then put your right hand down and take your right leg out and lace it in front and sit. So you end up sitting cross-legged with the right leg leading. Breath or two, a moment or two here. Be soft. Be soft. We consciously stir, we consciously unveil. Okay, here we go. Set the right leg. Lean to your left and push. And then coming back up, look to your right. You'll be squatting on the left leg, right leg forward. Lift the hips, slide the right leg back. Keep the standing knee bent, the left knee bent for a while as you find your half moon. Standing all the way up. Drop the right leg behind you across the midline. And the crossed squat. Slide your right hand back into the right. Turn to the right, left hand down. Keep turning. You'll end up in a squat with the right foot leading. Bring the left leg just out in front. Sit down. Left leg in front. And go ahead and lie down on your back, everyone. Beautiful. A beautiful, lovely mess, right? Just a mess. Twisted mess. Oh, I love it. We'll call this sequence a washing machine. So a lot of standing today. We've been doing a lot of our variations from sitting and standing as a biped species at this point of our whatever evolution looks like right now. It's very, very good to recover balance. Sometimes when we're really going through it, we think we can't practice. And sometimes this is true. I remember my first teacher was always saying that the practice of meditation is when you think you can't, and you're just too pressed, too triggered, is the best time to sit. And of course the same is true in this practice. We are in the practice of moving energy, not as control or manipulation, but as awareness and playful curiosity and exploration, and this is the process of knowing oneself. So please understand that the movement, in the very, very least, is a way back to midline, a way back to center, and a way home. And then we begin again. Really beautiful work, everyone. I bow to you for following along or trying to follow along these things that I can barely track myself. They're so creative and organic. So beautiful. Take your time returning to your seat, returning to the flow of your day. And I have deepest gratitude for all of you. Blessings.